Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, if this isn't welcome back, please make sure to hit the big red button down below to subscribe. It helps the channel more than you can believe, and we're really trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Now, can you help us make this possible? Click the button below. Now, as today marks the day after the first match week of the Premier League, I thought it would make sense to sit down and look back at 5 things we learned from game week 1 of the Premier League. So, up first, Arsenal are trusting the process under Mikel Arteta, and that's clear to see. The opening fixture of the 22-23 season provided us with an insight into how Arsenal are likely to shape up for the upcoming season. Despite the missing Tomiyasu, who I expect to return to his right-back role once he returns, Arsenal look solid, energetic and hungry throughout the first 45 minutes. With Gabriel Jesus spearheading the attack, Martinelli, Saka and Odegaard also provided quality collectively, acting as this coherent attacking quadrant, something which the club has been crying out for in the wake of Aubameyang's departure and perhaps maybe even before then. Looking at Arsenal's shape, Arteta lined up with a solid 4-3-3, deploying Ben White as the right back, which looked to be a little bit of a strange choice when coming up against such an impressive, intelligent and skillful winger in Wilfried Zaha, and yet he completed 12 out of his 17 attempted ground duels, keeping the tricky winger quiet. It will be interesting to see how he remains in the fold once going back into his preferred centre-back position when Tomiyasu returns, but interestingly, he isn't the centre-back that I thought was the most impressive on the night, as Saliba proved to be as good as many people thought he was. The previous Young Player of the Year in Ligue 1 looked impressive throughout, outstanding for the Gunners, picking up the Premier League Man of the Match award and looking like a revolutionary player for Arteta's side. Another standout player was Alexander Zinchenko at left back, who provided the assist for the opening goal on his debut. Into the second half, Crystal Palace did seem to get into the game a little bit, but at the end of the day, in a week where all or nothing Arsenal came out, the team on the pitch did deliver the most entertainment on opening night. Up next on the list is the Ten Hag Effect is taking a little bit longer than maybe a lot of Manchester United fans would like, based on the performance against Brighton. Perhaps a shock to many following what was considered to be a relatively strong pre-season, Manchester United started their campaign with a loss at home to Brighton and Hove Albion. From a neutral perspective, the match was a chance to see how Erik Ten Hag's style would adapt into the Premier League, and it didn't quite work out for the Dutchman. Setting out with Eriksen and Fernandes rotating in a false 9 position, it never quite allowed for United to develop a strong level of consistency within the match. Any progress being made was abruptly halted when Pascal Gross lashed home a Danny Welbeck low cross on the 30th minute mark, and then 9 minutes later Brighton would go 2-0 up thanks to another goal from the German midfielder. With work to do, Ten Hag introduced Ronaldo early on in the second half, and that didn't really have any effect, and the game would later go on to finish 2-1 to the away side, with the only goal for Manchester United coming through an Alexis McAllister own goal. Any fans who thought that the former Ajax tactician would hit the ground running received a swift reality check, as Erik Ten Hag will look to respond positively and strongly next week against Brentford. Although we focused on Ten Hag here, credit must also be given to Graham Potter, as his side, who lost 2 of their most influential players, displayed an impressive level of performance and resilience to secure such a result away at Old Trafford. It will be very interesting to see how Brighton do this season and to see how his side develops in the Premier League throughout the campaign. Moving down to the south coast now, looking at Bournemouth. The Cherries look sweet, and maybe the biggest surprise of the weekend was that many people's relegation favourites started their season with a strong win over Aston Villa. What was most impressive was that Scott Parker's side picked their moments to attack with such precision that, despite being under pressure from the villains for the majority of the match, they were able to record an impressively comprehensive result. Stunning the visitors within the first 120 seconds, Jefferson Lerma, deployed as a makeshift centre-half in a back 3, opened the scoring following a corner routine with a strike just outside the 6-yard box, and a Kiefer Moore header in the 80th minute ensured that all 3 points would be staying on the south coast, capping off a determined performance for the Cherries, which is certain to be sweet for fans of the seaside club. Despite being written off by many fans and pundits, Bournemouth managed to gain a vital 3 points, which may not mean much now, but it could mean all the difference in 37 match weeks time. Interestingly, the shift from a back 4 to a back 3 seems to have done the business for Scott Parker's side, and I think maybe he'll be using that in many more games moving forward. As well as this, Marcus Tavernier also had a very good debut, looking energetic and lively throughout the entire time that he was on the field, getting substituted towards the end. Can Bournemouth surprise everyone and stay up? Let me know what you think down below. Next up, we have Leeds United, and no Raphinha? No problem. With Raphinha and Calvin Phillips leaving Ellen Road for Barcelona and Manchester City respectively, Jesse March had a difficult job in replacing 2 of the most influential players for Leeds United in recent times. Despite the difficulty of the task, he seems to have made a few smart moves in the transfer market, bringing in the likes of Mark Rucker, Tyler Adams and Luis Sinisterra. However, it was the old guard and a new face who wasn't necessarily considered to be one of the big signings who were decisive in the opening day match against Wolves. After surviving an early scare after Daniel Podence volleyed home in the 6th minute, Leeds marched on together, with Rodrigo lashing in a near post strike past Jose Sarr, and a comeback was complete after Patrick Bamford squared the ball to Brendan Aronson to tap home. The key takeaway from this match is that despite all of the losses of key personnel, the team looks to have a firm cohesion of Jesse March's style and approach, which will leave many Leeds fans hopeful that they can avoid being dragged into a relegation scrap this season. Now, the 5th and final takeaway is, of course, he can do it in the Premier League. And who am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about Erling Haaland, making his Premier League debut this weekend away at West Ham United, with it only taking 36 minutes to get up and running in the league, thanks to a penalty conceded by Alphonso Areola and won by Haaland himself, utilising his sheer pace and directness. Haaland doubled his tally after a wonderful left-footed finish into the bottom left corner in the 65th minute, securing the 3 points for his new club. A strong and physically commanding display put to bed the question on everyone's minds when he made the switch, showing everyone that yes, he definitely can do it in a City blue shirt. Manchester City as a whole looked a lot better and a little bit more commanding than their previous showing against Liverpool in the Community Shield, and Pep and his team certainly have cast that result aside, returning to form ready to mount another offensive on the Premier League title, looking to make history yet again. Now, to round off the video as a little footnote, just like everybody else, I was paying attention to my fantasy Premier League team a lot over match week 1 of the Premier League. So for match week 2, who would I pick? Well, I would recommend Dewsbury Hall from Leicester City. After a strong performance against Brentford, it looks like he's on course to continue his development this season. Scoring from 25 yards only added the icing to the cake of his individual performance, and he was later replaced by Rodgers in the 73rd minute, which did have an impact on the game, picking up a total of 10 points, which was only bettered in the midfield section by Pascal Gross, Mohamed Salah, Dejan Kulusevski and Jorginho. At £5 million, he could be a very shrewd investment for your fantasy Premier League team. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to drop a like down below and comment below what impressed you the most about the first week of the Premier League, and we are delighted to have it back, aren't we? Make sure to subscribe for more content coming your way very, very soon.